"Say nothing to them or me until we are inside Yerushalayim's gates," I whisper to Yermi, though he already knows that it is safest to make himself appear as puny as possible in front of those who have colonized Zion. I lead my son between the scruffy goatherd and his foul-smelling trip, so that we can cross over the nearby stepping stones to the other side of the street. "You, the laborer with the boy," one of the youths calls out to me, but I do not turn around. "Hey, Moshe," another one says, "come over here and talk to us." I continue to lead Yermi forward. As we pass a dove seller sitting by his wooden cages, one of the younger boys yells something about my manhood that makes his friends burst into insolent laughter, and when I glance over at him, he wriggles his little finger in the air to mock me. The Romans are always amused and astonished by the covenant of circumcision we make with the Almighty. At such moments I know I shall never fully escape the despair bequeathed to me by my father's early death, for I am suddenly dripping with sweat and short of breath. In a furtive whisper, I remind my son not to let himself be provoked. "We do not want to give the youths an excuse to strip us," I tell him. Peeling a Jew, our conquerors call that particular indignity. The two young men wearing garlands dash across the street to us, mischief burning in their eyes. I recognize the shorter one as Servius, the second son of the imperial theater manager. Though I decorated the courtyard of his family home 2 years earlier with a mosaic of Pan, he does not seem to recognize me. He asks in a voice made gritty by drink if my son and I would like to sample the pleasures of the bordello girls and boys whose ripe fruit they have just plucked, as he puts it. Are such stock phrases meant to be witty? Servius then speaks to me so quickly that I am unable to decipher his Latin. When I entreat him to address me more slowly, he mocks my Aramaic accent. "If your son is a virgin," he adds in a mixture of Latin and Greek, "I'll pay you to watch him do some pounding, or be pounded if that's what he'd like." It is best to play the ignorant laborer at such times, so I bow subserviently and apologize for being but a poor Jew unable to speak the language of the empire. Penitet Judeus pauper, non dicere linguam imperii. I add that we have work to do and must get on our way, but as I take Yermi's hand, Servius closes on me and pushes me in the chest. "You're going to be late for work today, Moshe," he says menacingly. In his deep-set black eyes there is no empathy that I can find. Could my son and I make it safely to the Tanner's synagogue just inside the fountain gate? Across the street, a crowd has gathered to watch us. The only person I recognize is Goliath, who must have decided to track me after all. With the beating in my chest swaying me from side to side, I stammer an appeal to Servius for mercy, but before I get very far, a big-bellied Roman gentleman with the bald head of an Egyptian priest strides up to me and barks an order for me to keep my Jewish mouth quiet. "And you, stop this nonsense," he commands the youths. "Somnias," Servius replies, meaning, I suppose, you must be dreaming. In a more serious tone, the young man uses a well-known idiom to tell his elder that I am only pretending not to speak the language of Rome. In Judea etiam arbores Latine locuntur. In Judea, even the trees speak Latin. My fear of the violence I sense in the youth makes me reach into my pouch to check for my knife. By now, the 3 younger boys have joined us. One of them, no more than 14 or 15, clears his throat and spits at me, hitting me in the neck and cheek. How could a boy spit at an elder? It seems so impossible to me at the time that I can find no reply equal to my astonishment. Across the street is a fair-haired woman carrying her baby on her back in the Greek fashion. I know I will always remember her, because she has seen my shock and humiliation and begun to weep. While wiping the spittle from my face, my need to teach Servius and his cohorts a lesson makes my hands tremble. I decided best to make an appeal to the higher nature of the big-bellied aristocrat, however, and I tell him that I am a simple craftsman who wishes only to avoid trouble. I add that I am in the employ of Lucius ben David, since my being in the service of an important Jewish Philoromeus, admirer of Rome, ought to win my son and me some protection.